And we are finally recording. This is taking about 30 hours from my end to his end. We've been doing a lot of stuff, but we're bringing you the final piece of interview. And this is such a crazy interview. I'm not going to introduce him. I'm going to let him introduce himself. He's a legendary figure. Who are you, sir? Can you hear me? Introduce yourself. Yeah, introduce yourself for the people so they know who you are. Who are you?
This is Bobby Caldwell. I'm sitting here tonight with Eric.
Yes, yes. And it's an honor to talk to you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. A lot of people were coming to me asking for the new year, can I interview some legends? And in my mind, I'm thinking like, who can I interview? They said you. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna get this interview. And it's it's an honor to talk to you. So I appreciate talking to you. I appreciate the music that you produce over the years, and just want to say thank you for putting out all the classic music that you did.
Well, thanks for the kind words, man.
Of course.
I'm a legend, at least in my household.
Do you like to consider yourself as a legend?
No.
Why? Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Well, for one, I'm not dead yet. I've always kind of associated, being a legend with passing on.
So
when that day comes, I'll be a legend.
okay, so back from a little bit more technical difficulties. We were talking about being a legend, and you were saying why you don't consider yourself a legend yet. What were you saying?
Well, I've kind of always associated it with, passing on. So, till that day comes, I don't really consider myself a legend.
So, is there a word that you do consider yourself outside of musician? Like, what are words synonymous with Bobby Caldwell in your mind?
I just like to think that I, write the best songs that I can write. Hopefully please my fans and bring happiness to people.
So,
That's about music in general,
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, could you say you want to please your fans? When you were growing up as a kid, could you ever see yourself having fans, or did you know that you were going to be the person that was like, with all the fans in the world?
I'll tell you what. From the beginning, I couldn't have imagined what was going to happen. So in that regard, I guess it took me by surprise. And kind of still does to this day,
Yeah.
But I guess in that respect, I'm pretty blessed.
How is it? Because I mean, I'm not famous. Nobody knows me. So how is it when people come up to you and they're just like, just appalled, like, oh, it's Bobby Caldwell. Can I get an autograph? Like, when in your career were you used to that? Like, how long did it take you to get adjusted for people randomly coming up to you, wanting to talk to you, get your autograph and all that?
Wow, never been asked that before. I don't know. Maybe a year or two before it set in.
Mm-hmm. And when exactly did you start music? Like, what year?
Oh God, 13 years old.
15.
Starting my first band when I was 13 and all that stuff. Playing at high school functions and private parties and stuff. Top 40 groups, I mean, there were a lot of us in that day. For instance, both junior high school and high school, I mean, everybody had a band now,
Yeah.
And now you can't find anybody who's got a band in the schools today. Kind of strange phenomenon.
Yeah. I was actually going to talk about instruments because one, every time I get a chance to bring this up, I'm going to brag about it. So shout out to the school I went to, a Grammy nominated award winning school, and it was an art school, and we had a band. And I know back in those days, my mom would always tell me like, "Oh, nobody. They used to play their own instruments. Everybody had real instruments and this." And I know going back to your earlier days, you said that you had a band. So did you know how to play any instruments growing up?
Well, in the beginning, I was self-taught,
Mm-hmm.
but I had formal piano upon the insistence of my parents. I guess when they saw I was serious about it,
Mm-hmm.
they wanted me to get formal training. Um, but basically self-taught. So by the time I made my first album, I was pretty proficient at guitar, bass, and piano.
So when you say you're self-taught, that's always crazy to me. Exactly how does somebody self-teach themselves how to play an instrument? Because I have a keyboard over there, and I could play a little bit, but just teaching myself is really difficult. So how do you do it?
That's impossible for me to answer. I don't know. Um, I well, first of all, I was surrounded my entire youth by music. My parents were in show business,
Mm,
so there was always music in my household. Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra, headquarters,
mm,
right?
yeah.
Um, so I guess I kind of developed an ear for it. Um, once I started messing around with the guitar a little bit, I started to teach myself the chords. I went out, I bought like a chord book, right?
Yeah.
And started from the very bottom. Um, and then I discovered James Brown, you know, and learned what skank and funk was all about. You know, um, I've been influenced by so many guitar players. I mean, everything from Hendrix, Buddy Guy, Clapton, um, just across the board, Beatles. So it just kind of all became part of me.
I don't know if I'm gonna word this correctly, but you say you were influenced by so many guitar players. So how would you rank who were you influenced by first in the sense of guitarist or vocalist or pianist or things like that? Like which one comes first? Is it guitarist that inspired the most? Is it vocalist or you see what I'm saying?
Vocalist.
Vocalist.
Yeah. If I could list them in order of their influence, it would have to be Sinatra first,
Mm,
and then it would have to be Marvin Gaye.
mm,
Um, I mean, now I'm going to skip around Luther Vandross, Earth, Wind, and Fire. You know, in those genres, in the R&B genre, Spinners. You know, Four Tops, Miracles, all of that stuff. Um, I guess for the most part, I guess I was influenced outside of Sinatra by R&B. You know, black music, stuff that came out of Motown and Philly. Um, that's what I was always most attracted to.
So when we're talking about vocalists, I know I hear a lot of people say that a lot of people, or certain people, can make their vocals. It's like their instrument of their own. Like their vocals are an instrument. So when I say somebody vocals is an instrument, is there a certain person that pops up in your head? Like, yeah, that person just their voice is just crazy. It makes it sound like their own instrument.
Sam Cooke,
Okay.
definitely Sam Cooke. Um, Sam Cooke, Marvin Gaye.
I see you bring up Marvin Gaye a lot. I've been listening to a lot of Marvin Gaye's albums on repeat, and I feel like people like him is just ahead of his time. Like when you listen to it, like what's going on, like that album could be applied to in today's like presence. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
It was ahead, it's still ahead of its time.
Yeah, it's still ahead of its time. It is. So when you go in making music, let's say in your earlier days, I'm pretty sure the message or the reason that you did music in the beginning is not the same music you did, or is not the same reason you did music 10 years down the line. So at the very beginning, you making music, what was your reason to make music?
Um,
like for example, Marvin Gaye, his reason to make What's Going On was to talk about the social climate. I know he made an album that he talked about his whole marriage that he got a divorce in. Like people have different reasons for different albums or different time periods. So at the very beginning of your time period, what was your reason?
Wow. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't a popular kid. First of all, I only had a handful of friends. They were good friends. Um, so I think I got into the music to have something I could call my own. Um, Something that maybe could elevate me socially. That may sound silly,
Mm-hmm.
because you're asking me what first got me started into it.
Yes.
That was short lived because I did like a sponge. I soaked it up and forgot all about the reasons I got into it in the first place.
Mm.
Um, but I think that why it was a way to get the girls.
Yeah. So before you officially start making music, when did you know you could sing?
Oh, I sounded pretty good to myself in the shower when I was 4 years old. So that long ago.
And I mean, from the beginning of time, a lady loves when a man sings. So that could have always been your call for, the ladies just break out a Frank Sinatra song and they just like, oh, Bobby. They just come to you like that. So I don't know. I think that's interesting that you say your reason changed really quickly, because that makes me wonder right after that, what was your next reasoning for you to make music? Because I feel like when you don't have a reason to do something, that's when you're uninspired and you come off as, just unfocused.
Well, that's a great statement because what was the next reason? That reason was given to me.
Hmm.
Uh-oh. Hang on one sec.
Okay.
There we go. That reason was given to me with the success of What You Want to Do for Love.
Mm.
Um, it kind of dictated for me who I was, what I was going to do. So I truly had a reason to continue at that point, a legitimate reason. And something I really loved doing. When I found out the kind of joy it brought people and happiness, that was yet even another reason. So that would be kind of like an impasse for me from the reason that I started in the first place to having a real reason to continue.
Okay. And before we talk about your specific songs, 'cause I see you bring up a song right there, I want to know, you talking about, we still sticking on the reasons. I feel like I said, when you have a reason, you're the most focused, and when you don't, you're unfocused. So do you feel like there was a time in your career where you were your most creative, like you're very proud of this era of your career because you felt like you couldn't like make a bad song, you couldn't hit a bad note? Is there a time in your career you feel like that, or do you feel like that's the expand of your whole career?
Um, it's difficult to answer that. I'd really have to think back to how I was feeling at any given time, like
Mm-hmm.
during a project.
Mm-hmm.
um, there was a point, where I felt I could do no wrong. Um, Maybe right around after the Heart of Mine album.
Okay.
So I was feeling pretty good about everything.
And
Everything I was right.
yeah, I was gonna say, when you feel like that, sometimes you get a little too cocky and you ride your high horse, and that's what sometimes like could be your demise. Do you think that? Do you feel like that happened, or do you feel like you were still riding your coattail? Because I've been times where I don't know, like did an interview. I was like, oh, I can do no wrong. Then I give like a bad interview next because I was just so like, oh, I'm the best person of all time. Or do you feel like you wrote that confidence and just kept going with it?
Oh no, man. I mean, I've had bad days. You know,
Yeah.
I've had shows that I didn't feel good about.
Mhm.
It's part of the territory. You know, it's what makes the good times, the good moments, seem so great.
Yeah.
You have something to compare it to. You know, when you feel like you haven't given 100%, or you're not at 100%, um, just disappointment. And more often than not, the audience doesn't even notice.
Yeah.
But I know it.
Yeah. That's
I feel
exactly.
it. Right?
Yeah. That's exactly. I know. I
So,
know the feeling.
um, I've had shows, you know, that I didn't feel great about. I had people come up to me and say, "You have never sounded. This is the best we've ever heard you." You know, and so I don't try too hard to dwell on it. Um, it comes and goes, but like I said, it's part of being out there. It's part of recording.
Mhm.
There are some songs. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but there are some that I'd love to go back and do again.
Mm.
And not a lot, thankfully.
Yeah. I was gonna ask because you brought up an interesting point. You said some people come up to you and say this is the best you ever sounded, and I'm no singer, but you sing along to a song sometimes. You might just sing when you're bored, and when I do that for a very long period of time, my throat just hurts, like it gives out. And a world class vocalist like you, when you keep singing, you just keep singing every night, every night. Is it ever a point where your throat just feel like it gives out? Like, what are things that vocalists do to just keep their vocal cords, I guess, healthy?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm the last person on earth you want to ask that. Um, First of all, I'm a smoker
Mm.
and shouldn't be as a singer. Um, I even sound a little hoarse right now because I'm just getting over the flu.
Okay.
But direct answer to your question is, yeah. When you're oversung, you're over, worked. Um, your voice box, it's just a muscle. So just like any muscle in your body,
Mhm.
it's going to get sore and swell up. There are some medications that help take the swelling down that are popular with singers when they get in trouble. But even that is like short-lived and can't be overdone. So I've been there, man,
Mm.
and I've some of my favorite people, favorite singers, I've seen have bad moments. So it's comes with the territory once again.
Well, I mean, not to harp on the bad times of your voice hurting, your throat hurting. You've had a lot of like just great hits, and I mean, I'm just like looking at the list of the hits right now. It's amazing stuff. Like "Open Your Eyes." I think that's just a beautiful, great song. Just the way you start on the falsetto, let me look at your eyes. I think that's great right there. And I just want to kind of touch on that track because I just want to know, like, do you remember the process of just making that track? Like, how did that track come about?
That was one of those lucky moments. It all went down in one day. Um, I started screwing around with a chord progression,
Okay.
and if I'm not mistaken, there was a co-writer, maybe two other co-writers on that song. Um, and so we were knocking around this chord progression, and the words started to come out based on the chords. Um, they were the kind of chords that lent themselves to melody. So, and coming up with the chorus was like a no-brainer.
Mm.
It almost wrote itself.
Yeah.
And when things like that happen. And there have been other times, when songs have been a real labor,
Mm.
taking what seemed like forever. Uh, Hopefully with good end result, but you really live for those moments where the magic just happens really quickly, and people. It's weird, but people seem to gravitate towards that, even though they may not know the story
Yeah.
behind the song. They seem to know there was an inspiration like that behind the song. I don't know.
Nah, yeah, it's an amazing song, and I mean, just still going through it. I mean, you like even cover songs, even the songs you covered, I feel like are amazing. Like "Don't Ask My Neighbor," I think it was first by the Emotions, if I'm not mistaken. A song
Yeah.
is the way you did it is just is I would imagine you had backup singers on it with the
I
don't
had one of the emotions there.
really how did you got to
Yeah,
tell that story, please tell that story.
um, and you know what? Her name escapes me, but it was one of the three emotions. Um, and her voice was what made those backgrounds sound like the emotions.
Crazy.
And that was an amazing moment in the studio, watching that go down.
I would feel like it's some songs that I hear and I'm like I just want to be in the in the studio session for that, and that's one of the songs where I would just love to see you and her just go back and forth. That's just amazing right there. My Flame, I think that's another amazing song. It's I could just keep going all day and day. But what is a song that didn't do is like you thought was just going to be like the biggest song of all time that you made that didn't get the acclaim that it didn't that you think it deserved rather?
Oh, um, my God, there were so many. uh, that's a really great question. I never got asked that question either. Um, wow. Can we come back to that? Let me think.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, you have plenty that I think that should have been just number one charters, but it didn't. So, I would agree. It's a lot. So I'll let you think about that one. Just let me know when you come up with it.
I got one that comes to mind.
Okay.
Um, there was a song called "I Give In"
Okay.
off the Soul Survivor album, I believe, that I really had high hopes for. Never saw the light of day. Um, Actually, and My Flame never got its just deserve either.
Yeah, My Flame is crazy. I love My Flame. My Flame is great. So when you go in a studio session, do you go in and like this is going to, like you go in trying to make a radio hit or trying to make a top 40 hit, or do you just go in making stuff that sounds good?
Yeah, that's another great question. No, I don't think I've ever gone in thinking I'm gonna make a hit record.
Yeah.
Uh, no, because I really have to like the song myself.
Mm.
If I'm gonna pursue it. Um, I think I have pretty good taste. Um, but as far as knowing what makes a hit record, there's an old saying, and it's you take a piece of the three last records that were in the number one position, and you got yourself a hit record.
Mm. So, did you ever take that advice?
I don't think I did, no. And I damn well should have.
Yeah, that's good. I've never thought about that. That was very good advice. And of course, the song that at least everybody knows if they're not even into your music, "What Won't You Do for Love." Just the backstory behind, I guess, that studio session you making that one.
Okay, well, I'll try to make this short because it is a rather long story. But
Okay.
so the record company gave me carte blanche in the studio, so I had all the time I needed. My first record, and I really beat myself up pretty good. Um, and I turned in a record without "What You Won't Do for Love" on it.
Mm.
And while it was very well received by the label, they didn't feel that they had their breakout hit. So they said, you go back in the studio, see what else you can come up with. And so now, bear in mind the blood, the sweat, and the tears, and the time that went in to making this album. So in one day, we did What You Won't Do for Love, and I didn't even think about it. We just did it, and that says volumes about writers, dancers, artists, painters. I mean, how they can get so hard on themselves, they can't see the forest through the trees, right?
Yeah.
So, it's amazing that song ended up being the song off an album where so much time was spent, more than one day on a song. So something happened that was spontaneous. And going back to what I was saying earlier, those moments, where it just all comes together, you live for those moments. And that song, even to this day, proves that out.
Yeah, it does. And you brought up something about dancers and artists just putting their blood, sweat, and tears, and it says a lot about them, how they could just do it, just do something on the instinct, and that just makes me curious. Are you ever inspired by any other art, like outside of music, like dancing or things like that?
Well, I love theater.
Oh, you love theater. Okay.
And we're in New Jersey here, so it's like under good traffic conditions, it takes about an hour 15, hour 20 to get in there. So we've gotten in to see some Broadway plays, and most of them have been just fantastic experiences. Some of them, actually most of them, we took our kids. So we got to see Phantom of the Opera, which was just mind-boggling. I had no idea. We saw Wicked, which was also mind-boggling. And, being such a fan of production, it's awe-inspiring to see what they're able to accomplish within the walls of a theater. So if I had to name any of the arts, it would be theater.
Okay. And I feel like I feel I'd be remorse if I don't ask this question. I've seen you actually do a whole interview about this on Red Bull, and it was basically people like mistaking you as a black person when you make music. So that makes, I don't think you answered this question, but has there ever been specific situations where people like found out you're white in front of your face and you didn't, like they were just like surprised? Like, has that ever been like a thing, like, yeah, I'm Bobby Caldwell, and like, you're a white person, and they were just like surprised by you being white and not black?
All the time. And still to this day. But what has never happened, at least that I can remember, there's never been like any animosity or any attitude about it. More just the surprise. But the acceptance has been overwhelming for 40 plus years. And it says a lot about ethnic music and how they appreciate artists, and that for the most part there's no color boundaries, and I've been blessed by that for over 40 years.
Yeah, I can attest to it. Me being a black person, that when a white person comes and does R&B, and they are very talented at it, a black person will never have any like animosity towards them. Like people like you, Michael McDonald, even Kenny Loggins, like people in that vein, people like appreciate you guys because it's like, first they might think you're black, then when they see you and see you're not black, it's like the respect level goes up even more because it's like, you surprise us, like you did that. So yeah, like I said, I'm probably speaking on behalf of all black people right now. We accept you people. We accept you making music and appreciating the culture, because it's all that comes down to, is as long as you appreciate the culture, we appreciate you. So that's what I think it feels. That's what I think it comes down to.
And I appreciate that more than anything else in my career, is what you just said.
Yeah.
Like I said, That's all I've gotten,
Mm,
and nothing but that. And it's been a great experience, man.
mm.
Uh, been very fortunate that way.
Well, last question from me, and then we get to the fan questions, and we'll wrap it up. You've been in here a very long time. You've been in the music industry for how long? Did you say?
I'm sorry.
How long have you been in the music industry again?
Wow. Well, the first album was 40 years ago.
40 years ago. So
Yeah.
you've been in for 40 years. So like I said, last question for me. Then we go to the fan questions. I
I
feel
didn't. I didn't mention the 20 years before that.
so you've been in your whole life almost, basically.
Well, there's the street era.
Mm,
The club bands, and trying to make
okay.
a dollar playing somebody else's music. So that went on for years and years. So that first real break, it's been 40 years.
Okay. Well, I mean, we can include the 20 years before that, but I was just going to ask, is there any stories or any memorable moments that you've shared with other artists or just anything that I guess that people listening, they would be like, wow, I never heard that. Just a story of yours that has happened over your career that's just memorable in your mind. And it could be anything, just a memorable moment in your mind.
Yeah. Um, the most memorable was I was playing guitar for Little Richard for a while. And I was really young. The guy was like 17. Um, we were somewhere in Vegas. I don't remember the name of the hotel. But I had strep throat, and I was so sick. But there was no way of like not going on stage. So I proceeded under the spotlight to get violently ill on stage during Richard's show. Um, Probably one of the worst known to man.
Mm.
And that is a moment I will never forget as long as I live.
How was it like guitaring for Little Richard in general?
I'm sorry?
You say you were a guitarist for him, right?
Yeah.
How was it guitaring for him just in general? Like how was it to be around him?
Well, Eric, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't know because there were two other guitar players. So we had three. And I think we were all playing the same parts. So I don't know if it was me I was hearing or the other guy, but there were three of us.
Okay, well, we can get into these fan questions and we'll get out of here. Let's see what we have first. '06 Kobe Bryant, he asked, which instrument does he think his voice fit the best, and what's your favorite key and why?
Um, I like piano best. Favorite keys, that depends on the song itself and, what key the song sits the best in.
Okay.
Um, some of the standards, like from yesteryear, from the American Songbook,
Okay.
some of those, sound great in B flat, E
Okay.
flat. Pop songs today, you know, G, A, E, they're all songs that I've written in.
Okay. Malaya the second ask him, does he listen to any modern music? If so, what's his favorite?
Modern intro,
Modern music.
modern music.
Do you listen to any modern music? And he said, if so, who's your favorites?
Um, I don't have favorites
Mm,
like Earth, Wind, and Fire.
okay.
Okay? See, initially, I thought you said, what was your favorite intro? And I immediately was thinking of After the Love Is Gone. Um, just, I mean, I'm familiar with the music today, uh, but to me, the sound has changed. Actually, sonically, the sound has changed.
It has.
Um, I think records sounded a lot better back then. Um, I think, for instance, a group like Earth, Wind, the songs, song for song, were just of a caliber so far beyond what's written today.
Okay. I do agree that songwriting has a it's different now because I feel like a lot of times back then there were more it was more subliminal writing back then. For example, let's say if somebody made a song about love right now, it would just be I want to love you, I want to love you. I feel like in the 70s, 80s there would be more cryptic songwriting to the point where it's not so blatant I want to love you. It'd be more words is used instead of love. You know what I'm saying? It would be more creativity behind that.
It's a great point, and something that I argue all the time is that somehow along the way, and not just songwriters, but everybody has lost command of the English language.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And so lyrically, like you were referring to, what they were able to say in a few paragraphs was unbelievable. Um, and now, like you said, I want to love you, I want to love you, I want to love you, and it's repetitive, generic, um, and really just based on nothing but a groove, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, but I tell you what, man. Oh, I don't know how old are you now?
I'm actually 19.
Okay, so let's say 25 years ago. That's a good number.
Okay.
25 years ago, the major labels were selling like 10 million albums, 20 million albums. And now, if they sell a million, they're dancing in the streets. Okay? There's a reason for this. And the reason lies, and always has, with them. Uh, you can't let pencil pushers run art. So, at least back then we had like
What would you define as a pencil pusher?
um people who have no business being in music,
Okay.
accountants,
Okay.
uh, so on and so forth.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Um, but when the offshore stuff started, um, they had a chance to do something about it, and they thought it would go away. Um, so they had a chance to put codes on all the product, so they couldn't be duped, copied, or shared in any way.
Okay.
Um, but it didn't go away. Instead, it got bigger and bigger and bigger, um, and it decimated the major labels. So now, if it weren't for social media and stuff like you're doing right now, I don't know where we'd be.
Mm,
Probably there'd probably be nothing.
yeah.
So thank God for this.
Thank God. Thank God that is somebody or is people out there that's keeping it alive. Thank God. Thank God. Let me see what else we have. We have a question from Versus You. He said, ask him how big it was for him to have Tupac sample him at the time, and what is his favorite song that somebody has sampled of you.
Um, I don't have a favorite, and even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. But I will say that when anybody, Tupac, Notorious, any of them, do sampling, whatever they do, whatever they choose to do, it's like a lot of people, they think it's a bummer for us, but it's actually very flattering that an artist would think enough of your stuff, to want to do something with it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how I've always felt about it. And it's been good for my record sales. So I'm not only sharing in something they're doing, but it's also like drawing attention once again to my catalog. So anything they do is more than welcome by me.
Okay. A couple questions from Slash. I think it's Gordon, if I'm not mistaken. Slash Gordon. A couple questions. He says, ask him about his Japanese fan base since all of his early albums got plaques in Japan. And then he also says, ask him about marketing yourself in the 70s. Yeah. What's the difference between marketing yourself in the 70s to market yourself now and your Japanese fan base since you have plaques in Japan?
Okay. This will probably be the last question.
Okay.
In the 70s, it was more of a hands-on business. So by that, I mean like you got in the car and you drove to every R&B station, every pop station. Back there, in those days, there wasn't any smooth jazz.
Okay.
So it's just you're just dealing with two things. You're dealing with white. You're dealing with black. So you get in the car and you drive across state lines, with coffee and donuts and your record. And it could take upwards of like 10 weeks, staying in Hotel 8s and just, making the morning drive and something they used to call Music Day, which was every Monday at any radio station in the country. So you'd show up, and he's simply, my name's Bobby Caldwell. Here's my record. Mm-hmm. Will you see me? Will you listen to it? Sometimes you're well received, sometimes you're not. So the whole idea back then was like the domino theory. You get enough stations on the record, the rest will start to fall. And that's basically how we used to do it. That's how it was done in those days. Every once in a while, there was money exchanged, right? And that was no news. Today, nothing of that kind exists at all. So it's all come back to what we were talking about earlier in social media. There's no way I could do today what I did back then. So there's just no way. And I've almost had to learn a new way to approach music in general.
Yeah.
Thank God I have, I got a team. We're actually talking to you right now from, I guess if you will, our headquarters. But I have a team with me, my wife, my manager, and it's small but mighty. So that's how we're doing it now. But there was a realism about yesteryear.
Okay, well, anything else you have to say before we close this out?
Yeah, I actually just finished a great tour, with a guitarist who's gaining popularity, also a Grammy Award winner, Norman Brown. Okay. I don't know if you've heard of him, but fabulous guy, incredible player. And I understand we're going to be performing at the Hollywood Bowl. It's May, correct? August? August 18th. Okay. And several other places to be determined. It's nice for me. It's a departure, so I don't have to do an entire show on my own. Mm-hmm. Get to share the stage with somebody who's phenomenally talented. That's what's going on with me right now. I'm getting ready to make a Christmas album for Christmas next year. Okay. Going to Japan tomorrow. Okay. For a couple of weeks. And still doing what I've always done.
Okay. Well, I enjoyed this, and till next time, everybody, I say